man who has transformed Anambra State beyond recognition.
You're there. Yes. Thank you.
Encounter with His Excellency Professor Charles Soludo was in his other life. This was in November 2003. We had just gotten into government then, and the lady seated beside you was driving a process then called, I must say, with some, I should be covering my face, but it is nothing compared to what I've witnessed in Anambra. But I also take some vicarious pleasure in the fact that, well, I have one leg here and I have one leg there. I know that I can also claim part of the credit. So it's good that, but it's important that the state government and all its sister state governments have come together to put this kind of power behind human capital. And like my colleague, Shedrack, was saying, yesterday I witnessed something. When you go to conferences, they usually thin out. But right through till the last minute of the breakout sessions, the level of enthusiasm that we saw here, we were ready to close at about 4:30, but we actually went on till like 5:30 because they kept, I will come up, announce that they have 15 minutes more. The loud chorus will go within the hall, say no, that we need more time. It was like people asking for extra paper in the exam hall. But they are going to do the presentation back to you today from the work of the breakout session. What we have tried to do is a smoother way going forward in terms of human capital. We took notice of, but probably we're not paying, so we declared that it was now ready to start receiving teachers from Nigeria. And now they are through with taking the teachers. What does this tell us? Human capital is about health and nutrition, education, and labor force participation. Now, they've hollowed out our hospitals. They are going to take teachers. Meanwhile, we here keep talking negatively about ourselves, but it is still the same institutions that are producing these doctors. These are not foreign trained doctors, by the way. They are wholly Nigerian trained. And I told the story here of a friend of mine who works with the Ministry of Defense in the UK, whose wife was going to deliver a baby. And when they were waiting for the consultant, all the white nurses and doctors, they kept waiting for the consultant. And eventually, this fellow came in whistling. It was a black guy. And not only was he a black guy, my friend later found out that he was a 1989 graduate of UNEC, University of Nigeria, Enugu campus. He was the consultant that they were waiting. The results will only continue to show. We have seen the WAEC tables in the past decade. I am not too sure if there has been any year in the past 4 or 5 years that 4 of the first 10 have not been from the Southeast. And I think the Southeast deserves a round of applause. Let me close by saying that we all get fixated about who is carrying away what money at the federal level. But what is important to our lives is that at the end of the day, all the indices of human development does not favor those carrying the money. It is those who do not have money to carry that every internationally respectable index of human development shows the Southeast, the South-South, and the Southwest as being above the rest in Nigeria. And I think it's important that we know that that is a lesson. The things we do with our children's lives, the things we do with
it's a campaign period. We all Nigerians, apart from a few of us, the Vice President of ECOWAS and the rest, and then the National Coordinator. You are welcome. On behalf of the government, I welcome all of you, the participants yesterday. So this is like a second speech. And our own dear zonal coordinator, who has worked tirelessly to make sure that we all gathered here, Professor Kate Omenra, welcome you again. The focal person, the Commissioner for Budget and Planning, who is actually the lady behind this particular matter. Yes, the Congress said this is the best so far, but I don't think we've gotten there, because we know the governor who we work with. To him, this will not gotten there. We are hoping for a day where all the invitees will be present here. Mr. Governor, it's been a packed conference. Yesterday, we had a full house, and all the commissioners, the technical working group, and others from all the states were present till the end. It's worthy of note that Anambra State is the capital of human development in the Southeast. And no wonder that they chose us to host this conference. And by inference, we are the lead. From what was presented here yesterday, it clearly defined where we are now. We were scored very high yesterday, the presentations will come. But to us, the council member of Anambra State, we know we've not gotten there. Because even before we started this program in Anambra State, the governor had a clear thought on what he wanted to do. Coincidentally, he headed a committee we call 2017, Vision 2017 Anambra State. And he headed that cause. Therefore, when he won the election, we had to combine these documents, his mission, the vision, the manifesto, with the Vision 2017. We had a combined working document. No wonder that it set up 5 pillars, which he called the solution pillars. And very critical in that pillar is the third pillar. You know, when you have 5 pillars and the middle pillar is human capital and your social agenda. The governor clearly defined it. Said he wanted to create a digital tribe and to have a human capital that is productive, very productive at home, and then exportable abroad. Anambra State employed in December 5,000 teachers. Employment of the 5,000 teachers. The governor said, I have not said employ in the Anambra only. He said let these teachers be employed on merit. He had no candidates. He clearly set out a team that went on. And then different stages. At the end of the day, we had our 5,000 teachers. That is human capital. He did that in the health sector and other sectors. And what we are doing today is to key in into what he has started. Mr. Governor, the technical working group and the various subgroups that sat yesterday will soon do their presentation. At the end of the day, we will wrap it up. And we hope to, because Anambra State does not work in isolation, and that is why this conference is holding. Because whatever we do, if we don't carry our sister states along, I don't think we'll get there. You've tried that even in security and it's working. We also want to try it in human capital. And with this, I say welcome again, just like I have welcomed you yesterday. And then at the end of the day, we come with a working document, and we promise you that by the time we are reviewing what we've done, sooner or later, we will move from one step to the next step, to the next step, and that is what the Anambra Spirit is all about. You're welcome. Thank you.
First, you've always proven and you've always been supporting human capital development. I remember so well, I'm sure you remember that very difficult conversation when we were trying to move on from needs to seeds. And it was really, I was coordinating the community of practice, and we argued and argued that he says to us, there is no way we're going to move. Yes, you want your seeds, but let us make sure that education, health, and labor force, we didn't call it human capital development then, is an important component. So you have always been that person that says that, yes, it's important to have infrastructure, but without people, we can't do nothing. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We'll go straight to the policy recommendations. But before I call, I'm going to call the state representatives, because like His Excellency, the Deputy Governor said, yesterday was actually very interesting. We divided ourselves into 3 thematic areas, just like the Human Capital Development Program, and the whole essence of breaking down into those 3 groups is to be able to come up with important policy recommendations for the Southeast governors, and of course to be able to brief the National Economic Council in terms of what works. We recognize that each region is unique and there are peculiarities common amongst the states of each region, and so that's why we are going around. I want us to flip and go and think of 2030. Today is 1st of January 2030. What would we want to see in the newspapers? For me, what would be really interesting for me is for me to open the newspapers and I'm reading and it says Nigeria has moved forward. The productivity life of an average Nigerian is 70%. We can do it. Do you know what it is now? It is 36%. What that means is that an average Nigerian is not more than 36% productive. Yesterday, when the MPS gave us their statistics, Southeast is in the region of 50%. So why is Nigeria still 30%? We recognize that we're different, and there's so many other states that are still a bit behind. We're still one Nigeria. What this is all about is, let us all work together. Let's bring up the people that are down there, because when Nigeria is being mapped, it is all about all of us, and at the end of the day, Nigeria is mapped as one. So let us see the people that are doing well. Let us see how we can bring the people that are not doing well. This is possible, and how it's possible is that we must all be part of it. Human capital development sits across multiple levels of stakeholders. Government will recognize our own role. That's why we're here today, to see how we can coordinate and lead this process. But you know what? The civil societies, the state governments, the local governments, the communities, the traditional rulers, I mustn't leave out the important the state legislature as well. Everybody has a role to play. And we have actually created a platform where everybody will take on the role. We divided this whole process into 2. The first phase was to actually have a national vision to have, and we said to us, what is important to Nigeria? healthy, educated, and productive Nigerians by the year 2030. On purpose 2030, maybe perhaps to aspire with other development programs all around the world, because we are all working in the same environment. But we now also realize that you cannot be driving this from the federal at all. It is not possible. And that second phase is actually the transformation that must happen all across the 36 states. But we also know that it will be tough. I started this, I thought, oh yes, I think I need much more, and that's why we have 36 focal persons, and we also have regional consultants. So we have cloned ourselves to make ourselves more available to all the states by having those regional consultants who will then work with the states to make sure that we have the same platform of healthy, educated, and productive Nigerians. So like I said, Mr. Governor, yesterday, it was very practical, and we went into discussion, and we have policy recommendations for the 5 governors in the Southwest as a basis for working and moving forward. I'm going to call the representative of each policy group, of each thematic area to present to us. In no particular order, I'm going to start with education. So if we have the person that is representing the education thematic areas come up and give us the key policy recommendation.
By what the state is already doing, we introduce robotics to make the curriculum robust in implementation. Industries to upskill themselves. It will be organized by the state government, aligning with those industries and sending our teachers to improve what they already know, but to improve in the recent way of doing things. The second one is give teachers access to ICT, technicals. We have 7 major 21st century skills that aid teaching and learning. We want to train all the teachers in the Southeast to use those skills in teaching and learning, and it will improve them. Quality assurance. It is a handbook prepared by the federal government, and it is implemented by schools below tertiary. It is like a Bible used by everybody in the whole federation. We want to train our teachers to know how to implement quality assurance. In that quality assurance, we have so many key aspects. What we call the achievement of the students. To know the overall thing we want in education is to know the achievement of the students. Under the achievement of the students, we have what is called the achievement and standard. What is their result like? Did they perform PPP? And you said that the students performed 100%. But in Anambra State, I'm using Anambra State because I'm from Anambra State. What we normally analyze in Anambra State is quality pass from C and above. So we want to train our teachers to know that you should analyze yourself based on quality pass and not based on PPP, because P is also pass. We have other aspects like quality of provision, what we call quality of provision. The first one is quality of teaching and learning, the quality of curriculum, quality of care guidance and support. What we call peer guidance, like guidance and counseling, first aid, all these things. Teachers should know all these things. And then the quality of the environment, very, very important. And the last one, under quality assurance, is leadership and management. How are the administrators, that is the principals and the head teachers, how do they manage their schools? It is very, very important that they know the actual skills in leadership and management. Welfare. Timely remuneration of teachers. Thank God we are doing that.
Mandatory for every health, for every public and private staff in the formal sector. How do we intend to achieve this? First is that there should be a law to establish or implement, domesticate a law. We are aware that last year, May 27, the president signed a law on National Health Authority that ensure that every Nigerian must be under health insurance. So first is this, we want to make a law and also domesticate the law that will mandate everybody, both in private and public sector, to achieve that. In Anambra State, all the persons working in public sector, they are mandatory under insurance, and when we're having discussion, we found that some of the states in the Southeast are still having a problem to achieve that in the health sector, but we're already having it in Anambra State. But the problem is, we want to also have it in the private sector. And the private sector, how do we tend to achieve this? One is that we tend to say that if, for instance, you have a private school, you want to come and register it, you must show evidence that people that are going to, that are teaching in your school are under health insurance coverage. If you want to have a petrol station and you want to come and get your license or renew your license, it will be accompanied most of people working with you or the going to work with you must be under insurance. Also, people that are going to do constructions, if you are coming to register to have their work, a contract or what, people that are going to work with you, there must be evidence from you that they are under insurance coverage. That is, there will be this, because when you have insurance, there will be finance for the development of the hospital, because it's a pool. At the end of the day, the capital on the government in spending. So number two essence of it is this: people will have access to healthcare, because it is not when you are sick you start thinking about money to treat yourself. And the essence of all the whole thing in human capital development, we want to have people that will be healthy. We have to have people that their life expectancy will increase. We want to have people that we have to reduce our under 5 mortality and see our people grow better. So these are the impacts we are going to take this healthcare financing. If it's achieved, both ensuring mandatory private and public health sector to be mandatory under insurance, and I pray that this should be domesticated and achieved. Number two is that human resources for health. This is area we have looked at. Thank God in Anambra State, when we came on board, the governor saw we have like 19 general hospitals without medical doctors. We quickly recruit. But the issue is not about recruiting now. We are talking about people leaving the system, and people will continue to leave the system because we are not going to close the border. Then, how do we do to ensure that we have these people? When we look at it, the doctors, the nurses, the healthcare workers, not only doctors, so they are available to serve our people. And with their experience, they will have high quality of service they deliver to our people. Number two is that we have something we call minimum service packages in our primary healthcare. If we were able to ensure that primary healthcare have minimum service packages, the minimum service package was established in 2016. It's in the terms of human resources, the infrastructure, and the service delivery. But in the service delivery, we're talking about if we ensure that if a primary healthcare, for instance, the minimum service package from healthcare health post is different from that. If we domesticate this, we will make sure that in all the sectors in primary healthcare, we are going to have the available human resources. The first one is that the third one on this human resources is this: people are leaving the system. We agree, there's no two ways about it. But the issue is this: let's develop a system that will make it easy for them to be replaced. For instance, the bureaucracy in advertising and all that in recruitment is going to be removed with this. What this is trying to do, if somebody have a private hospital, we have just 2 doctors, you employ somebody, if the person is leaving next week, you find out you must replace it. But in government establishment, you find out that people exit the system by even retirement, traveling, dying and all that. So we'll have a system like that, that if this person is leaving, there is a system that within 1 month, the person will be replaced easily without going through bureaucratic process. We believe that this will actually help us to have available human resources today. The first one, provision of emergency care fund in the domicile in the ministries. What this is, we take from the certain amount of money, we say $50 million domicile in the ministry, so that when there is an outbreaks will continue to occur. Now we are partnering with diphtheria, monkeypox and all that. Before the processes of release of funds and all that, so that the ministries, even when we have the COVID, so that the ministries, probably with the Accountant General of the State, will have access to the fund immediately to quick response, so that at the end of the day, people will do what? Will save lives, and at the end of the day, the due process will also follow. But let's have a money that is readily available to be released to tackle the emergency. The potential effect on that is there. Then the next thing is that to develop a policy to mainstream and regulate traditional medical practice. At what we, in this aspect, we know that alternate medicine, we know that is very, our people consume it whether we like it or not. So it is high our own, and be able to look into it and see that I'm happy the Deputy Governor is here. He has been involved in this, and I'm sure his establishment of sexual assault referral centers in all the senatorial districts. This actually, I will tell other states in the region, we have doing this very well. So let's a place where a child or any girl, when they will go there and receive the justice and the desire, and we have been doing that in Anambra State thanks to the Mr. Governor and also the Commissioner for Women Affairs and the Attorney General. So the next one is the domestication and operationalization of the national policy on health, on nutrition. We in this area, we know there is quality nutrition. So we are proposing, we have started it in our state. Mr. Governor has started regenerative agriculture. This area that we want to have a quality food we are going to give out. Because in human capital development, in health is health and what? Nutrition. So when if we could be able to make this to be something that every other state could actually adopt. So, and we are proposing for this woman the regenerative agriculture. Then the third one, the second one on this, on the first nothing, which under nutrition is exclusive breastfeeding. Because we want to create means. We have been talking of exclusive breastfeeding even since I was in medical school. So we'll continue to talk about it. But what are the means we are going to make it possible for our workers, people that are working in public and private sector. So what we propose is this: let there be a means whereby all the health, all the public and private areas will have a crèche where people can come with their kids and they can be able to keep them there and breastfeed them. In Anambra State, we have it already, and we are proposing that it will be ensured that. The next one is ensure mandatory and effective data collection. It's an unfortunate thing. Unfortunate thing is that we are that to make it mandatory for data to be collected from the private and public sector. Unfortunate thing is this: the data we are seeing, or we proposed by NBC yesterday, is from the public sector. And where the services are happening there is just 30%. So the 70% we don't have any law that will make them to what? Get data. So we are proposing for let us domesticate the data law. The last one and final one is monitoring and evaluation. The governor said that assignments given and unsupervised is as good as not given. So we are making monitoring and evaluation, and this we are proposing to have a regional health summit meetings of all the commissioners for health and also the governors. That every quarter we are going to discuss some of those things and see where we have achieved and what we can do to improve on it. Thank you so much, and God bless.
I think to stand on there. Lots of recommendations, and we looked at women and youth development, the area of youth schooling. We looked at building schools in the market, because we need to take education to those people at the market, especially the apprentices. We then looked at enacting the laws that will enforce all this changing with there was a lecturer that said, I've been using this particular handout for the past 20 years. For the past 20 years, you are still giving them the same thing. So retraining is very important. Then the database is important. Without good database, you can't do proper planning without database. Then curriculum review. Curriculum review is important for effective learning. Effective education, we create good graduates that will come out from school and become employable and also employers of labor. We also talked about engaging private sector, because government cannot do it alone, especially in the area of technical support and then funding for them to operate. The next slide, please. Okay, we then looked at, I think it's not here, we looked at the environment, formulating good environmental laws, because the kind of environment we have now is not good for human capital development, especially in the area of regional planning. There's need for us to have different commercial area, industrial area, residential. Everything cannot be everywhere. Then we talked about sustainable waste management. We talked about environmental conservation, planting trees and all whatnot. The governor will always talk about clean and green environment. If you look at our environment presently, the parks are not there. In fact, the only park we hear about are motor parks, no recreational parks. But that is where cows are. That is why cows are everywhere. But we see the parks as National Institute for Touting Development. Every year we graduate thousands of cows And incidentally, it's only those that have automatic employment, because immediately they are graduating, they are having employment. So we looked at this area and we felt that there's need for us to have good environmental laws that can support human capital development. Then the impacts. The impact, the first one is access to financing. Once we create the enabling environment, the funding agencies will come in and help us. Then reduction in unemployment. If you build people's capacity with the right skill, they will be employed. We also, through women-owned enterprise, we need to encourage the women to own their enterprise. And then increasing labor also looked at increasing productivity. Of course, when you create the enabling environment with the right skill and training, you increase productivity and income generation too. And then the social vices, if you look at what is happening in Anambra State, the governor has done so well in reducing crime, but he's also doing what is the world called non-kinetic through the Ministry of Development, the One Youth, Two Skills solution, where you train people and they are employed in a sustainable manner. Invariably, all these insecurity and social vices will reduce. And then decrease in dependency ratio. When people are engaged properly, they will be financially dependent and the society will be better for it. Thank you so much.
Because when we now have the National Economic Council, this will be self-development. Let us take it to the communities. Because once the community owns it, irrespective of you, even as governor of the state, it will be a way of doing things. And we have so many people supporting that. On this note, I'd like to thank Madam Finder very much. As Vice President of ECOWAS, she actually gave each state, 12 states of Nigeria, $50,000 to do preliminary works. Anambra wasn't part of it then because we were not doing so well then, but I'm telling you, we're doing so well now. Up Anambra. So we thank you very much. But even in her capacity now, as she coordinates an African region organization, I think she has almost about $3 or $4 million to support human capital development also. So we're working very closely with her to see how we can do this. And she has told me that our community project, she's so ready to support it. So we'll start with Anambra State sometime after the elections. So again, I'd like to thank us all very much for our commitment. I may not have the opportunity to speak again, but to also thank so much our focal person in Anambra. Yesterday I said a private joke, but you see that private joke, I can bring it up now because she has actually shown it off herself. She's saying no to me, so I'll keep that private joke. To say, well done, very well. Oh, the deputy governor, he actually led back and began to push for HCD results. What I would like to do is to go around and ask you and shake you and tell you to tell your colleagues, but I think we can do that together. So look to your colleague next and tell that person, let's begin to push for HCD results. And I'm saying that to Mr. Governor because I'm in front of you. Continue to push for HCD results. Thank you again so very much, Mr. Governor.
Your Excellency, Deputy Governor, my colleagues, and everyone, thank you. Your Excellency, I'm just going to be quick. I start by bringing you the felicitation and goodwill of the Governor of Enugu State, His Excellency Ratron Bifayukwa is here. Obviously, if you look at the news, we're busy today, but he made sure that we're fully represented. Our entire technical working group, they are here. The Deputy Governor was going to come, something else came up, and she sent her regrets. Madam Koroma, you member at the launch of the strategy books. Thank you. I was very glad to see you today again. Thank you very much. We are one of the recipients of the largest, so thank you. Your Excellency, basically I want to congratulate you. I want to congratulate the chair of the ACD and my colleague, the focal person for Anambra State. This is wonderful. Done well. I believe that we work carried along in the planning. We had the platform where we made it good. So I think it's a unified result. And I wish to recommend that we continue that way as we drive this process forward. Anambra cannot stand without the Uganda process. We all feel this together. The region is moving forward from what we heard yesterday, but we must continue to do that. Excellency, I congratulate you again and all of you, and thank you for hosting this and thank you for having us. Thank you.
Patiently, no. I just want to say that His Excellency, distinguished Senator Hope Solomon, is very much excited what is going on here, because I think the video clip of every aspect of this are forwarded to me. His Excellency, the Deputy Governor, Professor Classic, was on his way before I think he reached out to the Deputy Governor and then subsequently asked him to represent the Governor because of some other developments that came up in the state today. I want to tell you that I was irritatingly persuasive in ensuring that every aspect of this job is done. I want to thank her. And the Commissioner for Economic Planning has been wonderful. I think you have a good thing. The only last point I want to make is that in any state, we decided, by the grace of His Excellency, to ensure that we face productivity issues by ensuring that people develop requisite skills, competencies to add value to governance in the Imo State. And that's why we moved into the digital hub. And we aspire, by His grace, to turn Imo State into the digital hub for West Africa in the next couple of months. As of today, we'll have 15,000 university and polytechnic graduates that are being trained on the supersonic highway. I want to thank you. God bless you. God bless Anambra State. God bless service and HTC family. Please. You are tough. Thank you.
Now, three of you represented the national coordinator, my sister. I was telling Watizan when I arrived that you guys didn't know the connection, otherwise we would have ready to have lunch. And then the deputy president of ECOWAS. You're welcome to Anambra. Welcome. Yeah, she just looks like she's from Nibo there. Welcome. None. I've been writing copiously here. I just took my notes and I was just writing because my address is supposed to respond to what you have said. Okay? And I would make just a few remarks in response to what you have said. But the first thing I said is to, again, add my voice in welcoming all of you to Anambra State, the light of the nation. I was briefed yesterday. You had all the technical sessions, and as was said during the introduction, that it went very well. And from the presentations, I could also see that quite a lot of work has gone into it. So I say, welcome to Anambra. Thank you for the great job that you have done within these last 2 days. And even thank you even more so for the excellent recommendations that you have made. Thank you very much. Clap for yourself. Some data presented, and that the Southeast seems to be literally outperforming national averages and most of the indicators, if not all. And then given who we are in the area of human capital, I was tempted to suggest maybe changing, instead of changing the narrative, to put deepening the narrative, because human capital seems to be our only thing. If you look at this region, the Southeast happens to be the former East Central state. And we're a little bit, we're Nigeria. A lot of the things in Nigeria apply to us, but there are also other areas that make us a little different. First, we are the zone of the 6 zones with the smallest landmass. Okay? We are the zone with the smallest landmass. Very tiny. We're also the zone with the least natural resources. We don't have much, if any. Those that are put in the oil thing, just some drops here and there. Little or nothing. We have no ports. We're as landlocked as everyone else. But all the landlocked regions have huge landmass, which we don't have. We're also the region whose huge resources, productive resources, happen to be domiciled outside its region. It is estimated that more than 75% of our non-land assets happen to be outside of the region. It's not land. Huge productive resources. Our productive human capital, our financial assets, our investments, and so on and so forth, are domiciled likely outside of this region. We're also the region for Madam Deputy President of ECOWAS. I'm listing one part of our sisters. You might also know that dear sister Obieze Ekwesili. This is her home state. Okay. She, pushes on this global African initiative on human capital development. This is our home state. And one point I did make when I have been in that platform twice now, and when I spoke, I did point out that several of the data being presented about Sub-Saharan Africa, girl child, the blah blah, they don't pattern, at least not in Anambra's case. Here we are worrying more about boy child. You probably have, I'm sure Imo State is here. Imo will probably be leading much of, maybe, I don't know, Imo and Ekiti, which one is, because, the states where you have education as the dominant industry, as it were. And here, of course, Enugu is there, Abia, Ebonyi, and so on, following suit. We're very unique in a number of ways. And this brings us to thinking through the kind of agenda that we'll have. It is within this context, and you can list out a number of other areas that make us where we are, with Nigeria, but also makes us a little bit unique in some ways, some unique features that we must leverage on to now ask, how are we going to do it differently to produce far different results? To deepen the areas where we have excelled, and to see the areas where we are lagging, and to get them up. Unfortunately, I just only listened to the recommendations. I'm sure you've done the deep analysis and identified where the missing gaps are and where we need to upscale, as it were. So if you look at the points I have made so far, having the smallest landmass, and in Anambra's case, much of our landmass happened to be ravaged by gully erosion. Anambra is the gully erosion capital of the world. I used to say Africa, then somebody drew my attention that it's actually of the world. We have the smallest landmass, second only to Lagos. And even the little that we have is being ravaged by gully erosion, whereas Lagos is expanding by reclaiming the ocean, and as the case may be. So, even that very hostile environment, the land is very hostile. Naturally then, for Southeast, human capital is our only resource. It's our only dependable resource. So for us, it's not as if we can, it's something that an add-on. It is our today, it's good our yesterday, today, and our tomorrow. So this conference, therefore, for us, is one that is pivotal at the heart of who we are. If we don't mind the fullest, the human capital to the fullest, we're going nowhere. There is no tomorrow. And that immediately reminds me of this book, Keep the Oil, Give Me the Books. I don't know any of you who've seen that book. Optimum. And they've been able to develop one of the fastest growing economies in the world and most prosperous as well. Supposed to be a developing economy. Happened to be in private hands, at least for last year. 0 point. Everywhere else in the world, in much of the developing world, and many societies that have But then you get onto this delivery mechanism. Private community partnership. Public, private, community partnership. Mechanism. When we to bring on board heads of local governments. and at the table. I see ASOBEP is here, but more than that, we will need the local government participation. Where will be our areas of networking, collaboration? Standards, certain subjects in certain areas, even if it's not in the national curriculum. Who says that you can have that? If you, depending on where and how that operates, it might end up that let us start individually and as government to patronize the things that are made by our innovators and by our own producers here. And we're looking for the packaged food from the rest of London and America and all of that, team foods and so on. Is the one that produces what I wear. The women of Akwete from Abia State. Akwete is the name of their community and it's also the name of the cloth. This is handmade. You will, in a period of a year or two, create tens of millions of jobs. We eat what we produce, we wear what we produce, we patronize made in Nigeria, made in the Southeast, made in Anambra, then we create millions of jobs. teachers and civil servants, they say they are non-indigent. Two of them who are very promising, very, very promising. Of course, they will still go for my final interview, but I've seen in the short list, I've seen people who are not from Anambra. And if they make it, if they demonstrate that they make it, I will appoint them PAMSECs here. This is the future. We're talking about this labor force participation and all of that. This must be what we will have to mainstream in the country. This is federation. If you go to the United States, people begin to say, I'm originally from, thanking all of you. You've done such an admirable job. We must not see those boundaries. Thank you very much and God bless you.
Concerning the CBC teachers,
Yes,
as somebody from Imo, I know what that.
I think this is
HCD results. Thank you very much.